Hey everyone, I'm Natalie Bencivenga, and welcome to 5 Minutes with. This week I am chatting with not one, but two people that are running for court here in the community of Pittsburgh. I am chatting with Tiffany Sizemore, who is running for the Allegheny Court of Common Pleas. She is from Churchill. She is a clinical law professor and also has 16 years of courtroom experience. And I'm also going to be chatting with Jehosha Wright. He's running for magistrate on the Northside, which is where he currently lives, and he is a counselor and a health coach. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having
Thank
me,
you.
Natalie.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I'll start with you, Tiffany. It is a very crowded field for the Allegheny Court of Common Pleas. The last time I checked, I think it was up to like 39 people running. So can you talk
True.
a little bit about what that court actually does?
So the Court of Common Pleas is the trial level court here in Allegheny County. It has four divisions: civil, criminal, family, and orphans court. So it does a little bit of everything that touches people's everyday lives. Criminal and family are probably the two that people think of the most. So when people are charged with offenses above the summary level, for anything from low level misdemeanors up through first degree felonies. That is handled in criminal court. Family court handles the things that we think about that affect our families every day: divorce, custody, child support. And that's also where our juvenile court division sits. So kids who are charged with offenses in the county. Civil handles any matter over money, right, where people might be suing each other for money disputes. And then orphans court handles property, estate, wills, things like that.
And Jehosha, for people that may not understand, what is a magistrate and how does that differ from what Tiffany's court would be doing?
Yeah, so the magistrate is a little bit different because it's more the ground level work. It's often referred to as things like the people's court, or I refer to it as like a community judge. So it's really about kind of being that entrance to the judicial system, that gatekeeper, the people on the front lines. So these are the judges with their ear to the street, right? On these, I don't want to say petty offenses, but things that can be seen as petty offenses, but they actually have more implications than meet the eye. So things like landlord tenant issues, disorderly conduct, disputes that are under about like $12,000. And also it just kind of jumps to some pre-arraignment things like setting bail. But really, I think the definition does lie in the potential of the position, because there's an untapped potential at the magisterial level that people haven't been able to recognize yet, because there is this openness and ability to be creative at that level, honestly.
So speaking of that level, Jehosha, what made you decide that you wanted to run for this position?
So for me, it's really the overarching idea of there's this lack of continuity between our communities and our judicial system, right? So we have a lot of magistrates who, like I said, haven't seen that potential in being a community resource and being an agent of community response, right? And looked at it from more of a micro level and a case to case basis. And I think that that's harmed our community and harmed Black people and marginalized communities disproportionately.
And Tiffany, when you look at the Court of Common Pleas, there are a lot of sort of buzzwords and issues surrounding why a lot of people have chosen to run. Was there one particular issue that pushed you to throw your name in the ring, or was this something you'd been wanting to do for a long time, given your background?
So I think what pushed me into the race was the desire to, well, first of all, the number of open seats on the court, to me, signals that we have an ability, a moment right now in Allegheny County to be transformative about the way that we handle justice in this county. And so that was actually one of the deciding factors for me, was just the ability that the people in this county might elect 9 people who are true system reformers. My passion for the last several years has been around dismantling the school to prison pipeline. But there are many other issues, eliminating cash bail, ending mass incarceration, and issues like that I'm also very interested in and have worked on policy issues around. And so for me, it was just really this particular moment. It's not something actually that I've been thinking about for my entire career because I love being an advocate. I've spent 16 years representing individuals in courtrooms, in schoolhouses, and I really actually love that work. But I think that there is a moment when you're someone who is passionate about reform and passionate about change that sometimes calls you to a race or to a particular moment. And this was that moment for me.
And I heard you bring up the word transformation. And Jehosha, when I hear the word transformation, transformational justice, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's interesting because we have a lot of new language around the word justice. So it's trauma-informed justice, transformative justice, restorative justice. I've been using the term person-centered justice because we all have these different definitions of justice as we scratch and claw to find solutions to the issues that have been occurring for decades and likely over a century. This has been what's been going on for a long time. So to me, the idea is that we can all be collaborative. Like we can have platforms like this. Me and Tiffany can come here together. Me and Tiffany can talk in the future. We can bounce ideas off each other in order to make the justice work for people, because that's truly the idea of justice. And I think on many levels that those things aren't happening now because we've had this lack of representation, we've had a lack of cultural competency, we had a lack of a lot of things. So transformative justice truly to me is figuring out how to make things the most person-centered as possible, because the justice is supposed to serve those people. So taking what hasn't been happening and starting to really address those in innovative ways.
When we're talking about being person-centered, Tiffany, from your vantage point, knowing that Pittsburgh is the least livable city for Black women, if you were to end up on that court, would that be informing how you work and look at people coming into your courtroom?
Of course. I mean, I think that every person who is elected to the bench brings their entire person with them, right? Their entire lived experience, their entire personal experience, and their entire professional experience. When I think about those reports that have come out, some of which I've contributed on, it's not just data points, right? I'm a Black woman who lives in this county and who was raised in this city. And part of why I left this city in 1995 after I graduated from high school and went to college and law school and lived elsewhere for a little over 15 years is because even back then, I felt that I couldn't survive in this city. And so I had to go somewhere else in order to learn how to thrive and come back as an adult. And now I'm so proud and happy to have been serving kids and adults in the city for the last several years as an attorney. But really, you know, how could I not bring all of that important information? Our campaign is really focused on looking at data and science as a basis for reducing racial and ethnic disparities. And how could we ignore that data that City of Pittsburgh Public Schools has one of the worst school to prison pipelines in the country, especially for Black girls. When we do things in our court system that affect children for the rest of their lives, no one thinks about the long-term consequences. But I was one of those kids who felt like this city was suffocating me and who had to leave and who was happy to be back and serving.
Thank you so much for your insight. And as we wrap up this 5 minutes with, would you both just like to share a statement as to why people need to engage with local politics and get out to vote on May 18th?
Jehosha,
Yeah.
you want to go? Okay.
Yeah, I can go. I think it's a pretty general idea of we have the information now. We have the internet and everything is super accessible now. And the more accessible these things become, the more we realize how messed up the system truly was. So we have an opportunity to make these decisions at the ground level, because politics truly, in my opinion, works from the ground up. That's from your Democratic committee members to your residents up the chain, right? We have the opportunity to make decisions at that level, because when you go to the magistrate or when you go to the court, Joe Biden's not in there and other presidents aren't in there. It's the guy from your community or whoever from your community who ran for that office and obtained it.
Mm-hmm. And Tiffany, how about you? Why should people go?
Absolutely. So I'm a supporter of an all of the above approach to change, policy, activism, protest, and also voting. And so it's really important that if we want to make change to these systems, that we get engaged at all levels of the process. And one of the most, I can't really stress enough that one of the most critical moments in a generation for Allegheny County is going to happen on May 18th. And so we need people at the polls, just like we need people in the streets, just like we need people at the policy table. So please, please, please get engaged and vote on May 18th.
Thank you both for sharing your insights and your stories with me. And I wish you both the very best of luck. And thank you again for spending just a little bit more than 5 minutes with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Natalie.